Alright, I'm going to give you guys some tips about how to organize your research. That's the first set of tips. And then the second set of tips is how to put a presentation together. So I real quickly want to show you this, but basically I tried to narrow down 3 things that I wanted to share for research before I move into my actual service project. So this is my topic about parenting and parenting pressures or parenting stress. And I researched 4 different articles. One article was not really helpful. The other 3 articles were really interesting, but there's so much information that I found out, and I realized I had to narrow it down. So I narrowed down to pressures, I narrowed it down to social media, and then I also did direct contact research, which is my video research, and I'll talk more about this in another lesson. But here are my research components. These are the 3 things that I wanted to focus on. So I've started organizing some of that information on my Google Slides. I'm choosing to do Google Slides because I really want to make a minimalist kind of presentation where I'm going to let the pictures and the most important key text stand out. And there's other different presentation modes. Prezi is one, Weebly, which is a website maker, is another, but I'm going to use Google Slides because it is kind of very popular. It's really collaborative, but also it's probably going to be a classic choice by a lot of students because it's a PowerPoint tool. However, I've seen a lot of really bad PowerPoints, like really bad. So what I want to do is show you what I have going on and how I'm making it into something different. So as you can see, this slide right here is kind of traditional. I got a header and I got some text, and then I'm going to make some more text, and I'm going to put bullets, and I'll probably put a picture like right over here. So it's not diverse, it's not interesting, it's not doing anything visually. This is my opening slide, and as you can see, it is doing something different, I think. The first is it's flooding the audience with images, interesting images. These images have been cited, if you notice. I found them and then I cited them, and I used a citation linking option right here. This has been cited and then this one hasn't. So I need to make sure all my images are cited so that I'm not just taking off the web without permission or not acknowledging the fact that these are not my images. The second thing is I decided 3 looked really nice back to back, and then I have my header text box, but instead of putting it in the traditional spot, I slanted it, and then I played with the background coloring, which is this thing right here. It's a fill color. So, and then I used the name of our group. So this, I think, is relatively successful. Now, I'm not going to do this slide structure every time. I'm going to mix it up. So this is my intro slide, and I'm going to ask my audience what they think of these pictures and use it for some discussion. And then I'm going to go into my second slide. I purposely made this only text, and there's nothing else going on this slide, because all I want my audience to do is to read these 3 words and think about them. My job as the presenter is to fill in the information about these 3 words and explain why I have these 3 words on the screen. Really good presentations, they don't use this as their answer key. They use it as a visual aid because they know the research by heart. So I would have note cards, and I would know what I want to say before I get up, and then I would talk about stress, pressure, and then perfection. And these were kind of the topic issues I wanted to focus on. The next thing I'm doing is a 2-slider. So there is probably another way to do this on Google Slides, but I do it this way because it's worked. So whenever I want to do a transition and I want it to be interesting, I 2-slide it. So I have my picture right here, and then what I would do is click it, and then it would give the second picture. And I just like that kind of click, because it literally, I have to click it and it makes the slide change. So I thought that was pretty nifty. I think using an arrow or some geometric shapes is kind of helpful and diverse. But if you notice, there is absolutely no text on this page because I don't need it. I'm going to tell my story verbally. I don't need to put my whole story on here or anything like that. I'd rather have the pictures do the talking. So the next slide right here is still a work in progress, but I'm mimicking what I already did on my first slide. I'm going to actually do two pictures here and here. This is a note for collaboration from my partner, Miss Zima. And then I was trying to find a picture that matches our mission statement. This is the most text I'm going to have on this screen. And it's because I think it actually is an important piece of text that I want my audience to focus in on. So now I'm going to show you a couple things I'm going to do. So right now I have a slide that I'm starting. This is one of the first research pieces that I want to share with my audience. And what I want to do is something called a Wordle, which is going to be a collage of words. So this is the header of my article. And all I did was I snipped a picture of it with the snipping tool. And I put it in here because I like the way that it looks more graphic as opposed to me just typing it in as a header. It is in a kind of obvious spot, so I think I'm going to move it down here just to change it up. And then this is my Wordle. So I'm actually going to hold this and I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to have this slide show. And then I'm going to duplicate it, and basically I'm recreating what I did here. Like I said, there might be an easier way to do this, but this is kind of how I operate. And I'm going to paste my little text, which is the start of my Wordle. And then I'm going to take this picture and I'm going to make it transparent. So when you go to format options, this little box thing will pop up and you can recolor it. You can make it transparent. So I'm going to make this kind of fade into the background a little bit because it's important, but it's not as important as these things. And then I'm going to start putting a whole bunch of text in here. And it's actually going to be Wordle-y text where I'm going to put a couple different phrases off of my article that I thought were really interesting and important. So I'm going to put feeling guilty. I'm going to put down, have it delete here. Hold on. I'm going to put a couple other things that I highlighted on my mentor text when I was reading through my parenting article. I thought it was interesting. They said perceived shortcomings is another one. And what I'm going to do is take that one and I'm going to move it and I'm going to change the directions of it. I'm going to make sure it doesn't have any silly typos in it. And then I'm going to change the font. So it's a little bit different and it just offers something a little bit more interesting and engaging, and I'm going to change the color. And the goal here is I'm going to put probably 5 or 6 phrases on here that I want my audience to pay attention to, and then I'm just going to talk about how this was my first set of research, which was parenting pressures. So that's my Wordle, and I'm just going to have this one, and then I'm going to have the Wordle pop up and have the audience think about some phrases that stand out to them. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to do a picture background. So this is a stat. This is also the longest piece of text that I'm willing to put on the screen. But I'm putting it on there because I feel like it's important. I'm going to make it huge so it really stands out to my audience. I might adjust the size in just a second. I'm going to center it. I'm going to do a bucket color behind it. I think I'm going to make it, oh, Vegas is very bright, so I think I'm going to do something like that. And I might just put the statistic right here. That's on option. As I'm doing this, I actually don't like it. So what I want to do is, there was this really cool quote about Vegas. So I'm going to take this header box out because it's boring and cliche. I'm going to go on the web and I'm going to find a picture. Once again, I'm picking a picture and I'm going to copy the picture, but I'm going to visit the website. And I'm going to make sure that I cite the image in just a second. So I have this, and I'm going to stick the picture in there, and it's going to take up the whole screen. I'm going to reorder the picture so it actually is a background. I'm going to side click, and I'm going to send it to the back. Now this is hard to read, so I can't just assume this is going to work. I'm going to recolor it into something a little bit more intriguing. I'm going to try that, and then I think I'm going to play with transparency again. And then what I'd like to do is make this bigger and bolder. I'm actually going to make it into a stronger, easier to read color. And then that's what is, now I gotta adjust this a little bit more because it's a little bit too strong and it's a little bit hard. But then I have this cool image that's kind of standing out, but the quote's standing out, and then I'm going to talk about it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this exact same structure, but I'm going to be using a different quote for contrast. So this is going to talk about social media. And I'm going to change out the quote, and then I'm actually going to put a picture of social media in the background instead. So it reads kind of back to back and it will have a cool effect. Now this is not quite done yet, but that's an option. So this is the picture background option. This is called a Wordle. This is basically, it's nothing fancy, but it's just moving around your information. So your header is not a true header. This is just using images. This is just using key text, and then this is obviously more about the visuals. So that's some things to think about as you put your Google Slides or whatever PowerPoint / Prezi model that you want to use.